When did you realize you married the wrong person? One day I realized I had become a smaller version of myself. On the wedding day, she spent a fortune on unnecessary things, and I knew I'd be the one fitting the bill on the credit card she ran up. So I told her no more. She said she wanted an ice cream vendor there. We already had 2 dessert bars, told her it was not needed. She fought me on it, but finally agreed. Wedding day comes, I'm standing with my groomsmen, in comes the ice cream truck. Knew right then, sadly. It was actually almost immediately after getting married. Our relationship had taken a nosedive as soon as we moved in together. But after we got married, while we were in Greece on our honeymoon, he absolutely lost his mind on me in public. I had wanted to go see a beach on the island that is supposed to be one of the most beautiful in the world, so we tried to catch the bus, but it never came. He screamed at me, telling me he hated traveling with me, and how could I ruin his vacation like this? Then we walked to the beach nearby, and he went swimming with his 2 friends, who he insisted come with us on the trip. I was too stunned and humiliated to do anything except sit on a beach chair and cry. When she sat me down and with a straight face said, "I've thought about this, and you're not going to exercise anymore." I was jogging a few miles a day, and would usually bring kids within running stroller. She said, "You're a father, and it's too time-consuming." That's when I realized I made a terrible mistake, lol. Catching her with another man in my car didn't help the case to stay married. Engaged, not quite married yet. When I had been on mandatory bed rest and caring for our infant son, after having emergency surgery for nearly bleeding to death after a miscarriage, and he came home from work and looked me dead in the face and said, "Why aren't the fucking dishes done?" Called my mom the next morning and told her I was leaving. Hightailed it out of there 2 weeks later. When I lost twins, and he dropped me off at the hospital to get an operation to have my babies removed. He dropped me off at the hospital bleeding and went for a party with his friends. Edit, fixed typo. On my wedding day. We were married at her parents' house, a beautiful place on a private country club. The entire day was all about her, and she spent more time hanging out with her friend and getting drunk than with me. I stayed busy visiting with all the guests during the day. After all the guests left and it was down to her parents and me, I find her passed out drunk upstairs in a bedroom. I picked her up and carried her to our car to take her home. Needless to say, our wedding night consisted of her sleeping it off. 5 years later, she went into inpatient treatment, and after she sobered up and was released, she told me that she didn't love me and wanted a divorce. When I realized if we weren't dating, I wouldn't have wanted to be his friend. I realized that I was hiding good news from her because I knew she would make me feel bad about it. I hoped she was going to grow up and stop being selfish and childish. She never did. When he was messaging a side chick on our wedding day, and boy did it go sideways from there. This post made me think of a quote by Robin Williams. "I used to think the worst thing in life was to end up all alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people that make you feel all alone." When she fucked a high school flame for a year whilst hiding it and staying home on my single income. We weren't working. I knew that. I was trying to improve things, and we'd talked about it, but she somehow neglected to give me that detail. I'm not angry that she didn't love me. But fuck, just tell me. Don't do me dirty like that after 13 years. Not married, but together for years. Got diagnosed with cancer, and she kinda shut off. She then decided to leave several months later. At an appointment I was officially 1 year clear, which is a milestone. I realized I was alone through a lot of it. She never wanted anything to do with it. Was a revelation to myself that the relationship breakdown wasn't all because of me. Got my 3 years tests this weekend, blood tests, and scans, etc. Current GF is driving me, and then taking me out to lunch afterwards. Hell of an upgrade. 6 months after our wedding when I found out about the emotional, he says only emotional, but I'm pretty sure it was physical too, affair through text messages. He had sent his affair partner screenshots of my texts to him in which I was begging him to talk to me and tell me what was wrong. They both proceeded to make fun of my desperation to fix my marriage, and his affair partner said something along the lines of, "Poor Valiant, she doesn't know anything and keeps begging you for attention and affection." The moment I read those words, I realized how big of a mistake I had made. When I came home from the ER after being diagnosed with a severe lung disorder, and she immediately left me with the kids so she could go out drinking with friends. Her exact words were, "I need you to make them dinner, I'm running late to meet up with everyone." When I got her to admit she was having an affair. 10 years married, 2 kids. What a mess. She followed it up a month or 2 later telling me she never loved a person like she does with new partner. So welcome to divorce land. Population, me. The second he decided to hit me. We were married for less than a year, and no kids, thankfully. Took 2 months, and we were divorced. When I found out, he was cheating. Not only was he cheating, but he used the same exact lines on his AP that he did when we were in the talking phase. After I discovered his affair and confronted him, he was adamant that he was not going to stop seeing or talking to her. I've never seen him so physically angry in our entire relationship. That was enough for me to get my things and go. Turns out he was a really good liar. One of those cunning fox types that lies about stupid little things to make the bigger lies not seem like a lie. I realized like 5 years into our 19-year marriage, but the nail that made me leave was when my ex said that our children hadn't earned his love, and that shook my whole foundation. Literally speechless for 2 days, and then I started thinking, wondering if I had earned his love yet, and I couldn't stop those kind of thoughts. You don't earn love, it is freely given, especially to children. Edited for confusion. I realized early on he wasn't right for me, but we had 3 kids, and our youngest is special needs, so I stayed. He didn't make this statement until 2 years ago when I asked why I never heard him say "I love you" to the kids while they were growing up, and that's when he told me about the earning. I asked for the separation and divorce shortly after that. After the kid was born. Total shift. Turns out only I wanted to be a parent. I waited on her hand and foot. Every night, brought her a tea. Checked every room to make sure there were no intruders, went to the store for her if she wanted a snack, etc. One day I was really sick with the flu and asked if she'd get me a Gatorade from the store. She was shocked that I asked and said, "Absolutely not." Then I thought about it and realized that she had never complimented me, supported me, nurtured me, consoled me, or showed any level of emotional care for me. I knew at that moment that she never would. All she did was complain that I didn't do enough for her. It took me a while, but I realized I was in an abusive relationship. The worst part is I tried to make it work, still, after all that, and it was her that pushed me away because she wanted to move to Portland, but it was also because I didn't make enough money at the time. The moment I had to adjust my boundaries, I knew I'm with the wrong guy. The worst happened last year, when after being together for 11 years, he chose to cheat with my niece, who just turned 18, I'm 30 BTW. It's not the first time he cheated too. It just kept getting worse from there. All the gaslighting and psychological trauma and abuse, I'd never wish that to anyone, not even on his mistresses. I wish our country had divorce, we're in PH. We're still together. The first wife, I had inklings that I might not have married the right person when I was working full-time, making very good pay, and she decided to quit her job and just sat at home on her ass. We had a maid come every week to clean the house top to bottom, do the laundry and all the dishes, and the house was still a hellhole 6 days a week. If dinner was made at all when I got home from work, it was hamburger helper or a microwaved hot dog wiener and blue box macaroni and cheese. It really became clear when I caught her cheating. Her exact words to a friend, "My husband's an angel, but I'm bored." The second wife, I realized multiple times, over and over, that I married exactly the right person for me. We had been engaged for just over a year, together for around a decade, and I realized I didn't actually want to be with her. I just was too invested and I didn't want to make her upset. I knew we would end up getting divorced at some point down the road, so I decided to end it before then. Went to therapy and realized I had spent my whole childhood trying to make my parents happy, and then I immediately got into a relationship and spent all of my adulthood trying to make her happy. I was miserable because of it, but I just didn't know. Together 15 years, married 13. She said one day, to hurt me, "I don't find you physically, mentally, or sexually attractive." I recoiled. This was about 4 months ago. We're still together, but I just can't get over it. When my aunt, who I loved dearly, passed away. She was only 54 and I was devastated by her loss, which my husband knew. As soon as we got home my husband said, "Well, that's that. We can move on now." She was just cold on the ground and he was saying that being dead, no pun intended, serious, whilst turning on his PS4 to play games. I was speechless and went to bed by myself, feeling so utterly lonely. 2 days later, he forgot my birthday. We've been divorced for 7 years now. He threw a surprise birthday for me, and towards the end I was inside near the food table and everyone had already gone outside. I affectionately called him over as he was passing by to have a moment. He rolled his eyes and walked on saying he was hanging out with so and so. Anyone, even a stranger on the road, was always more important. He just did not give a fuck about me. He only did things for how he would appear to others. I came home from a long day of work to find burn marks all over the carpet and linoleum. My then husband had spent the entire day playing games on his PC. While doing so, he had been ignoring our puppy who had managed to somehow get a hold of a phone battery, bite through it, and cause a small fire. Thankfully, the dog wasn't injured. This event, on top of finding out shortly before he had been lying about going to community college for almost a year, was the turning point where my feelings died. This thread has made me more secure in the fact that I absolutely chose the right person.